The NBA last night put on quite a show, at least in one NBA market. I'm sitting back, Aaron, watching the Bucks. Going to lock up a huge win on the road in Indianapolis against the Pacers. Pacers unable to tie the game on free throws. Bucks have a 1-point lead. Bucks are going to shoot their own free throws, extend it to 3. Going to leave Indianapolis with a victory. And then this happened.
Here comes a 3 and a foul! A foul! A foul! As Halliburton, floating out of bounds in front of the Milwaukee bench, hits a 3 and draws a foul.
A 4-point play dooms the Bucks in a 115-114 win over the Indiana Pacers. And this run of goodwill coming from the NBA ever since Nico Harrison traded Luka Doncic to the Lakers, I think has continued. We'd seen some great games from Nikola Jokic. Halliburton's shot last night. This is how I rate it. Adam Schefter actually tweeted the highlight of the Halliburton 4-point play, and the game was not on ESPN. It was a TNT game. So it was enough for Adam Schefter, the ESPN employee. Usually if it's an ESPN game, you're like, okay, that's an in-house deal. This was not. An awful late-game situation with the Bucks. Giannis with the foul on Tyrese Halliburton. Doc Rivers then challenges the play to see if Halliburton's foot was out of bounds or if Giannis didn't foul him. Challenge failed, so the Bucks lost their timeout and couldn't advance the ball after Halliburton completed the 4-point play, and then Giannis missed a 20-foot runner with no time left, and game was over. And it's just a spread of goodwill through the NBA last night, continuing as now we took 3 months of the season and we rained on the product, but even Tyrese Halliburton's play last night had people talking outside of the NBA.
I'll say this is that, obviously, look, I like a lot of people have been critical of the NBA through, the previous couple of years. But one, I do think the Luka trade pumped some juice into the league and obviously Jimmy Butler as well. And I'll say this, too, is sometimes you catch some bad – sometimes, like, for as much as we want to criticize the NBA, like, they've gotten some bad breaks, right? Ja's off-the-court situation, Ben Simmons, mental health, whatever you want to call it, Embiid can't stay healthy, whatever. But sometimes you need some breaks along the way. And I think that not only have there been interesting storylines, but they've caught some breaks, right? So the Lakers, and I know LeBron's out, but the Lakers not only get hot, they happen to play the Knicks and the Celtics and, Zion when Zion's playing. And so I just bring it up because it feels like, it just feels like things are finally starting to break their way. Not only is there marquee trades to marquee teams that seem to have rejuvenated both the Warriors and the Lakers. I know the Lakers are without LeBron for the time being, but then you happen to get them in signature games, signature moments. We all kind of were paying attention to that Lakers-Knicks game. We're all paying attention to Celtics-Lakers on Saturday. So I think overall, again, with the third caveat that LeBron is a little bit banged up, I think they've gotten some good luck along with everything that's happened.
And I think, Jimmy Butler's success with Golden State has you perk up your ears a little bit. I think that has not been a huge thing, but it's made it a more positive conversation. And one of the conversations that you have is about the positive or negative coverage of the NBA that you have through its principal partners. And it's something that the players have complained about. We've heard this, the top players complaining about what I felt was inside the NBA. You've pointed out Stephen A. Smith being critical. These players of the NBA have said, well, we're getting negativity from all of these points about our game. How is that going to help our game? Well, last night was a great moment, and it wasn't a great moment because the Bucks lost and the Pacers won, and it made a log jam for the 4, 5, and 6 spot in the East. None of that mattered. It was a 4-point play that was a crazy shot by Tyrese Halliburton that happened at the end of the game when you kind of felt all hope was lost. That's common in every sport. But then the 180 happened. On the TNT broadcast, Shaquille O'Neal talking about that Detroit Pistons team that is now currently tied essentially with the Bucks and Pacers for that 4th spot in the East. Shaquille O'Neal talking about what he likes with the Detroit Pistons last night.
I will be interested. You said something very interesting about Cade Cunningham. Great player now at this stage. He plays at his own pace. Anybody that can consistently play at their own pace and put up numbers is a great player. I like the way he's playing. I like what Chauncey is doing. Those guys play hard. My favorite player on that team is Isaiah Stewart. Big body, hard guy. Like to knock people out, push people around.
No, I can't let this go. Like who? Who's doing it? You said Chauncey?
Chauncey's the coach, right?
Okay.
Portland. No. Chauncey, he coaches.
I was like, I can't let this go.
JB Bickerstaff.
Yeah, Bickerstaff. That's what I mean. Hey, you know, first of all, I don't watch Detroit. How about that, boo-boo? I don't watch him.
Couldn't let that go.
I messed up.
I like what Chauncey's doing.
I made a mistake.
For the trailblazer.
What did you freaking do? I made a mistake.
No, but I mean this sincerely. I think you would enjoy watching the Detroit Pistons.
I don't really get
They
to watch
play
them.
hard.
No,
Cade is phenomenal. Jalen Duren's
Love
your
Cade.
kind of big.
Love Cade. I love Isaiah Stewart.
Kudos to Lefko for trying to save Shaq there, who was drowning in deep water. I loved the absolute 180.
No doubt.
It wasn't 10 seconds from I love Cade Cunningham and Isaiah Stewart too. I don't watch Detroit play at all. I don't know who they are. How about that?
What do we think? Was he trying to look cool? Was he trying? Because like Chuck has pulled off the like fun ribbing. Yeah, I don't really watch this league half the time anyway. Do you think he was just embarrassed? And
Yes.
that was it has to be that, right? It was pretty
Completely.
incredible.
I've said stupid stuff. I sent a tweet out the other night that I knew exactly what I was. I typed the wrong thing, and then somebody called me a dumb A. So I just deleted it because I had the wrong thing. Instead of writing Las Vegas, I wrote New Orleans because it was a West Coast Conference thing, and I had Orleans Arena on my mind. Yeah,
you could make that mistake.
Yeah,
It
but
happens.
it doesn't translate. And so to Shaq's point there, the problem is the criticism that all the NBA players have been saying of you don't watch the game and everything is negative. Here is Shaq praising a team that he hasn't watched, and then it gets mad about because he gets the coach and doesn't know. There's so much with that. It's the inadvertent telling on yourself. So if you're an NBA player and saying, not only are you being critical of our game, you're not even paying attention to our game, but yet their voices are so powerful that if you're a casual viewer of the NBA and you're dropping in, you're taking what Shaquille O'Neal says and then using that as truth. And so there's it's really heavy in the spot of I don't know if Candace Parker should have outed him at that point because I don't think it did any good. But to her point, she thinks it's ribbing, but it unveiled a curtain that I think NBA players have been complaining about a long time and kind of proves their point of, listen, you can rip on the league all you want, but if you don't know the league, maybe you shouldn't be talking about the league.
Well, I'll say this. What's, frustrating is not the right word. I don't know that any of us care enough to be frustrated, but there was a very easy correction there without saying, I don't watch Detroit. I'm Shaq. I don't watch Detroit. You could have just said, oh, man, Chauncey Billups, brain fart. Obviously, he's a Piston. He's a Pistons.
Absolutely,
He's
yes.
a Pistons. You don't have to do the whole, I don't watch the team. And by the way, Shaq, I know you watch the team because Isaiah Stewart isn't the first name that rolls off your tongue. When you're just pulling stuff out of the air, I watch the NFL. That Mahomes guy's good. Tennis, Jokovic, he's still doing stuff, right? Like Isaiah Stewart isn't the name that you pull out of the air unless you are actually watching that team. So Shaq, just own it. Own that. Oh, Billups, Chauncey, of course he's not the coach of the Pistons. He played in the Pistons. What am I thinking? Instead, he defaults to I don't watch the Pistons, which is just absolute nonsense.
And I don't want to sit there and say I'm throwing stones in a glass house. If we did a baseball managers list, I'd probably go 10 for 30. Like that's where we would go.
But we're also not
manager-wise.
hosting inside the MLB.
That's the point. Yes, that's exactly the point. And the same thing for the NBA. I think I could do pretty well with the NBA, but I don't know if I'd go 30 for 30, but that's the other portion of it, of when you're the voice of the league and have that much power. It was just a unique spot. Shaq could have saved it. I don't think Candace Parker did him any help. I think Lefko tried to save it at the end, but at that point, the cat was out of the bag. Shaq was like, well, I don't care. I don't watch Detroit anyway. I think that's part of the problem as well, that we aren't seeing or we aren't paying attention to stuff like that. Last night, people were paying attention to the Pacers and Bucks because they love the Halliburton shot, but the Shaq comment sure said a lot.
As somebody who fancies himself a guy who loves college hoops, it'd be like me being like, oh, yeah, Florida Gators in position to get a number 1 seed. Billy Donovan's doing really good with that. Oh, Billy Donovan doesn't – I don't even watch the Gators. What are you talking about, Dan Beyer? It's like, Come on, man.
Hit him up at Aaron_Torres. You can find me at Dan Beyer on Fox. And trust me, I've said plenty wrong. So that's why I don't want to throw these stones in the glass house.
But have you ever then
Shaquille
claimed
O'Neal.
that you don't actually watch the sport that you admittedly got?
No,
wrong?
I try to stay in my lanes as much as possible.
Agreed. Me too.
So,
I'm the same way.
like in terms of, I even watched we were talking about the Celtics documentary on HBO Max, and I was like, why do we need a Celtics docuseries? And it was a topic of conversation yesterday. I'm like, we've had tons about the Red Sox. There's been Patriot ones. Now there's another Boston one, but I wanted to watch it. I only watched the first half of the first episode because it comes out in episodes. There were 2 episodes that were released, and I watched the second half last night, and I felt a little guilty because I didn't watch the whole episode to be able to talk about it like I did yesterday after seeing the second 30 minutes. I don't know if I'm going to go back and watch the second episode, but that's where I try to stay in my lane, and if I veer too far off of it, it's not good for anybody.